can begin. As I said last week, I decided to focus on the day of Yerushalayim, of Jerusalem, which was just 2 days ago, Thursday evening, Friday, with all the festival that goes with it and the prayers and everything. And I prepared some kind of roaming around between ideas and texts that I found, and I got help from the AI, which I sent you, the notebook presentation, and we will go through it, and I will add a few things that you have not seen yet, such as I will start to share.
I might just say while you're sharing that it was worth going to the secret forest, if only to see the slides that you prepared right afterwards. It was such a really amazing.
I've already presented his presentation twice.
Wow, what a job. What a beautiful presentation. And so many amazing thoughts there that...
I pressed enter. Okay. I did not send you this thing because you see it, right?
Yeah.
This is a poet, a very known poet in Israel named Yehuda Amichai. He was mentioned in some of our meetings, and he said that Yerushalayim, and please go with me, I will not say Jerusalem today, okay? It will be Yerushalayim. So Yerushalayim is a port city on the shore of eternity. So this already brings to thought where we are and where eternity is and what connects us. And that's a question that we are dealing with in our sessions and truthfully in our whole life. So let's go on. I will continue to share something else, and that is a song. It is a different song. We will read the words first, and then we will hear it. This is a song that was written in the end of the 19th century by a guy, a poet called Avigdor HaMeiri, very known in Israel, and sung by the leading singers in Israel all these years. So the song talks about the sights. On the summit of Mount Scopus, I am bowing to you. On the summit of Mount Scopus, Shalom, O Yerushalayim. For 100 generations I have been dreaming of you, to be worthy of seeing the light of your face. Yerushalayim, shine your face toward your sun. Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, I shall build you from your ruins. And then again, from the summit of Mount Scopus, Shalom, O Yerushalayim. Thousands of exiles from all over the world casting their eyes upon you, with thousands of blessing be blessed. A king's temple, a royal city. Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, I shall not move from here. The Mashiach will come, he will come. And now let's try to hear it from a very known singer named Yehoram Gaon. Just tell me if you heard it.
Yes, but your control bar came back on. You'll have to hide it again, please.
Shalom Lach Yerushalayim, לזכות לראות באור פנייך, ישלח על פסגת השטחה ולך הפנים, אלפי גולים מקצות כל תבל, נושאים אלייך עיניים, ואלפי ברכות היי ברוכה השם אלה, אני לא אזוז מפה. ירושלים, יבוא המשיח יבוא.
Okay, thank you. I want to take you, we saw a video of an air flight. I want to take you to a small trip on Google Earth. When I go from my home to Yerushalayim, this is the road that usually I take.
Wow.
We're going east now. And if I continue,
Can you take the bar out, please? Yeah.
here it is, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And why does it not move? Just a minute. I prepared it. Okay. So, just a minute. Here it is. So, I drive east. I do not fly, I drive, but we're a bit above the terrain over here. And at this junction, north of Yerushalayim, the road takes a right, and we are going now to the south here. And now I'm going down this road to the south, and suddenly at a specific point, I see Yerushalayim. I did not see her a minute before, and as I take this right turn, suddenly I see the buildings, the high buildings of Yerushalayim. And if I just take the tilt up, you can see that we are going and getting close to Yerushalayim itself. The thing that happens the minute I see Yerushalayim is a small portion, let's say, of a Yerushalayim syndrome attacks me. I start singing.
Oh,
And
okay.
what do I sing? The song that we heard.
Oh, nice.
Me'al. And my family is regular to this syndrome, that every time that I set my eyes on Yerushalayim, I start singing.
Wow.
Now, there is something psychological, spiritual, but very physical, because your eyes see and your heart sings. And from this, I want to continue into the presentation, which I sent you. You see the notebook now?
Yes.
And now I enlarge the presentation
Yes.
itself.
Perfect.
And this was sent to you a bit late, but that's okay. This is a picture, a photo of Yerushalayim from east to west. This is from the Mount of Olives on a day of snow. Beautiful sight. And we're going to talk about the architecture of duality, the decoding of the two Jerusalems, twice Yerushalayim. We have twice Yerushalayim. Jumps up again. Okay, and how thousands of years of theology and history and literature bridge the gap between the heavenly ideal and the earthly stones. This is the point. And what happens over here is that there is a big psychological and spiritual weight on each of us when we talk about Yerushalayim. A sacred madness, and on the right, a historical weight with all the stories we heard and learned. And on the left, the messianic delusion or not delusion, and the extreme spirituality that we extend or connect to Yerushalayim. And many people talked about all kinds of feelings they have and insights they had, like Freud saying that a tragic mad land produced only religion's sacred madness. A bit negative. And Thomas Paine, talking about the religious nature of the modern world, stems from the absence of a lunatic asylum in Jerusalem. And Amos Eilon from Israel talks about even the jackals at night seem to howl verses of faith and historical quotes. So the city is so spiritually dense that it overwhelms the senses, triggering some kind of Jerusalem syndrome, or a bit of it, as I told you, of me starting to sing on the road, a profound psychological reaction to the collision of the celestial and the physical. The name Yerushalayim already has a piece of that in the name itself. On the left, we see that many years ago, in an Egyptian text, we find 20th century before Yerushalimum, and in the 14th century before Common Era, Urusalim, and in the 8th century before Urusalimu. But in Hebrew, the words that come up are shalem and yirah. Shalem and yirah, or in the right order, yirah, shalem, yiru, shalem. And together they make a divine completeness. And the name encodes the city's metaphysical essence, the singular place on earth where physical wholeness, which is shalem, or the word peace, shalom, which comes from the same root, perfectly aligns with the visionary capacity to see the divine, which is the word yirah. Lirot is to see, seeing, and yirah is being in awe. So when we see the divine, we combine an awe that helps us come to completeness. And now there is a saying in the Talmud, in the tractate called Ta'anit, which says that God swore, I will not enter the Jerusalem above until I enter the Jerusalem below. Some think that it's vice versa, that's the other way around. And there is a mistake, but this is the original. So there is a Yerushalayim above, Yerushalayim shel mala, and there is a Yerushalayim below, Yerushalayim shel matah. And let's start from the left. There's divine solidarity. The Creator shares in the distress of the physical exile by refusing to inhabit the perfected celestial sanctuary. He will not complete above until there is a fix down below. And there's a cosmic imbalance. The Zohar states that God's self-imposed exile from the celestial city creates the underlying tension and anger in the universe. That's where we are now. Or maybe there is a beginning of change, because Yerushalayim, when you see it now, it looks very different from the way it was 150 years ago, or 100 years ago, or not to say 200 years ago. And the earthly supremacy, paradoxically, the physical earthly city is more beloved to God than the pristine spiritual utopia. That's the idea that comes from this quote. And if we take this table, and let's start from Jerusalem below, or let's start from Jerusalem above. So the architect, the creator, God, has a divine blueprint, and the current state, maybe in Jerusalem above, is perfect, and it's built, but it's waiting. And the inhabitation status is empty because God refuses to enter Jerusalem above. Why? As we said. And the mechanism of destruction, when destructors try to destruct Yerushalayim, in the Yerushalayim above, this is dismantled not by swords and not by D9s. It is dismantled by human sins, dismantling the spiritual walls above. In Jerusalem below, Yerushalayim below, the architect, the humanity, we, in our physical hands, the current state, broken and physical and requiring repair, not only of the architecture, but of sociology, psychology, behavior, everything. And the inhabitation status is awaiting human and divine redemption together. And the mechanism, when destructed, it was destroyed by physical armies, Babylonian or Romans or whoever, and a perfected spiritual dimension has no true completion if the physical world below remains broken. And who fixes it? Let's see. The extraterritorial bubble of Yerushalayim, in the time when the temple stood, physics and biology and chemistry did not work as it worked outside the temple. And there are examples brought in the sources of the physics defied when wind never scattered the pillar of smoke, it always rose straight up. Rain never extinguished the altar fire, and biology was suspended because no flies were ever seen in the slaughterhouse, and meat never spoiled. And the space expanded because when many people came to pray, worshippers stood crowded together, yet had infinite space when they bowed. I don't know if it was a psychological solution or a physical solution, but nobody complains. The Temple Mount functioned as an extraterritorial zone. Within this bubble, the physical laws of Jerusalem below surrendered entirely to the perfect nature of Yerushalayim above. This is in the time of the temple. So we have the temple in the middle, city walls, and the holy camp around it. And there's an absolute zone. Yerushalayim is the holy camp, the head of camps of Israel, and this connects us to our portion of Bamidbar, because in our portion we are talking about these circles of the Mishkan in the middle, and the Levites and priests, the Kohanim, around it, and the whole tribes of Israel around it. The same architecture, and the Enochian blueprint, let's leave this, and the burden of perfection, because the entire city is the holy camp from the walls inside. Earthly realities, mortality, and natural human functions are strictly banished to prevent defiling the divine presence. And there is a topography of ascent. Physical architecture maps perfectly to spiritual elevation. The Levites sang. I was talking about me singing in my syndrome. The Levites, when the temple was standing, sang one corresponding song of ascent for each physical step climbed, proving that every movement in Jerusalem, Yerushalayim below, was designed to elevate the soul toward Yerushalayim above. And there are 15 songs of ascent together that go with the 15 steps of elevation that are in the temple. But this is another very interesting two ideas. The grammatical proof is that in Birkat HaMazon, in the grace after meals that we say, we ask God to build Yerushalayim, future tense, for the earthly city, but we praise him, not he who will build Yerushalayim, but we say in present tense, Bonei Yerushalayim. Now he is building for the celestial city being constructed in real time. And the soul connection is, as an important rabbi 150 years ago, 200 years ago, Reb Chaim of Volozhin notes that Yerushalayim above is the supreme root of all Israelite souls, meaning human deeds directly nourish the Yerushalayim above. What we behave down here has effect up there. And the architecture of the mitzvot, the celestial structure, Yerushalayim above, expands stone by stone. Spiritual abundance and divine presence flow back down to the human soul. Earthly human actions, mitzvot, good deeds, act as physical energy. We take part in the fix. When there was destruction, the mechanics of the destruction were that, let's take from the right, physical armies destroy the stones. The catalyst, only human transgressions could dismantle the spiritual walls above. The physical enemies could only burn the earthly stones. After human sins had stripped away the spiritual protection. The physical destruction was merely an echo of human hands dismantling the heavenly blueprint. The connection of below and above, very interesting. And human sins dismantle the upper habitation, and the core concept is that the physical conquerors, Titus of Rome and Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, had zero spiritual power over the celestial city. They were completely incapable of touching it. Who can touch it or have an effect upon it? We, when we do the right deeds. And this is an interesting way to look at it as the four daughters of Yerushalayim. This is a way of talking about ideas that connect to Yerushalayim, the celestial city, the utopian, unattainable heavenly ideal. And there's the diaspora Yerushalayim. And during history, there was Yerushalayim of Vilna and Yerushalayim of Amsterdam. When the Jews were in exile, in diaspora, these centers of thriving community and learning and safety in exile were called Yerushalayim of Vilna, Yerushalayim of Amsterdam. And the personal in Yerushalayim, the individual's pursuit of a personal comfort, wealth, and local identity, ignoring the physical homeland, even not connected to Israel, is spoken about as a personal Yerushalayim, and the earthly stone Yerushalayim, the harsh physical reality of dust and rock, famously embraced by Yehuda Alevi, who kissed its physical stones, and then sent me a sentence from the scriptures talking about the people of Israel embracing the stones in the earth. And Halevi took this from there. And after the physical destruction, the concept of Yerushalayim shattered into these four distinct identities, forcing generations to choose between utopian dream or diaspora comfort or physical dust. But then came the change. And the change, let's jump this. This is a very famous Shai Agnon, Shmuel Yosef Agnon, which won the Nobel Prize 50 years ago. And he has stories connected to Yerushalayim, but we'll not go into that and not into this. But we have a union of spirit, stone, and story, and the core synthesis is the paradox is resolved. God waits in the heavens, but the rebuilding is entirely in human hands. We must kiss, as Dean, you sent me, the physical stones and build the earthly city below to invite the heavenly blueprint above to descend and animate it, exactly like a soul entering a body. And the final thought, that Yerushalayim is not just a place, it is an active equation. It remains incomplete until human action bridges the celestial ideal above with the earthly reality below. So I just wanted to bring a short extract from the speech of Shai Agnon. Where are we? Here it is. When he gave his speech and when he received the Nobel Prize, this is what he said. As a result of the historic catastrophe in which Titus of Rome destroyed Yerushalayim and Israel was exiled from its land, I was born in one of the cities of the exile. But always I regarded myself as one who was born in Yerushalayim. In a dream, in a vision of the night, I saw myself standing with my brothers, Levites. He was from the tribe of Levi, in the holy temple, singing with them the songs of David, king of Israel, melodies such as no ear has heard since the day our city was destroyed and its people went into exile. I suspect that the angels in charge of the shrine of music, fearful lest I sing in wakefulness what I had sung in dream, made me forget by day what I had sung at night. For if my brethren, the sons of my people, were to hear, they would be unable to bear their grief over the happiness they have lost, to console me from having prevented me from singing with my mouth. they enable me, the angels, to compose songs in writing. So this was a very special saying of Shai Agnon, and what I will try to offer that instead of questions, as I asked you in the WhatsApp.
It's interesting he won the prize, and that was 1966, just before Jerusalem was liberated.
60 years, okay. You're right. And here we are in the fellowship. What I ask is that I will be very happy if you send me, and we'll make this into a kind of a workshop too, that thinking about the spiritual upper Yerushalayim, the physical lower Yerushalayim, I'll be very thankful if anyone and each one of us will please send a sentence or sentences, insights on Yerushalayim. My Yerushalayim in the past, or my Yerushalayim in the present, or my Yerushalayim in the future. And now I'm stopping the share. And here we go.
Wow, amazing. Can you put that request into the chat? So
yes, I will.
Thank you very much. Wow, thank you so much for such a beautiful presentation.
Yes,
here we are, and chats. We go, and okay, you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Oh, this is better, not as a reply. Okay. Past, present, and future. Your Yerushalayim. My Yerushalayim is, was, will be. That's the beginning of the answer. I began. Who wants to be second?
Right there, Mr. Yair.
Fine, I would love to. I don't, if somebody else will activate the timer though. Okay, so who would like to talk about the significance of Jerusalem, past, present, or future, from a personal perspective? How do all of you feel about Jerusalem? What does Jerusalem represent to you?
I'll go.
Go.
The reason I think of it is because this was a big conversation we had the other day during a shiur. And if you're here in Jerusalem, you find that the construction that is taking place is massive. Of course, Yair can attest to this as he comes to see his mother. And there's so much construction. You have light rail construction, which is an entire internet and network that all brings you to the old city. And everything they're doing is just pointing to and preparing for the future. They're preparing for the coming of the Mashiach. They're preparing for the nations to really descend on the city. And it is absolutely one of the most exciting things to be a part of, to see, to live amidst, when you really see that this city is being prepared for the future. And the future is getting closer and closer. So I've always loved Jerusalem. I have, the majority of my life, actually, I've spent a lot of time living in Jerusalem. I live in Jerusalem now, but nothing's more exciting than what's happening today in Jerusalem.
So would you say you've had the Jerusalem syndrome ever since you arrived there?
No, I do not have Jerusalem syndrome. I know too many people that do, though. That's a problem.
I was giving the definition as Moshe had given us today.
Yeah, in that sense, yeah, but unfortunately, people can get a little syndrome.
The first thing that we did when we got off from the plane, we went to the Kotel. Our family picked us up at the airport and swiftly took us to the Kotel. And when I came to the Kotel, I was expecting to feel something very spiritual, something really amazing. I was 15 years old. I was almost expecting to see angels flying around over the Temple Mount, and I didn't feel a thing. And I was very disappointed. Several years later, I went back to the Kotel, and I felt that amazing energy that exists there. So first of all, I'm trying to point out that a lot depends on us about how spiritually developed we are. I had come off a plane after living 15 years in the United States, in a very materialistic world. I didn't have the antenna, the vessel that was capable of sensing the sanctity that is there. It's very different today after you develop spiritually. And I was so touched by what Moshe brought in the name of Yehuda Amichai, when he talks about Yerushalayim being the portal to something, to the eternity.
The port on the shore of eternity.
Because actually just did a study session in our synagogue about Yom Yerushalayim yesterday, in which I described Jerusalem, and I brought sources to this, as being that meeting place between the spiritual universe, the heavens, and the earth. And it's almost like this, the Kodashim, the innermost sanctuary is that point where these two universes that were both created in the very first verse of Genesis, because it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, created these two universes that are currently separate, but they still touch upon each other there at that point, at that singular point that God chose. And it's the only thing that God says, the place that I have chosen, that is the current place where the heavens and the earth meet. And there are amazing stories in the Talmud about conversations that the high priest had with God at that meeting place. And we know that it says that God will speak to us from that point. But if we think about the future as being one in which not just the high priest gets to feel the presence of God when he enters in the Kodesh HaKodashim, in the most sanctified place with the ark and the cherubs, but it actually becomes the place where the world is restored to the state of Eden. Remember cherubs? Remember the cherubs that are there to protect the way back to that initial state that we were created in, where there was no death, where there was plenty, where there's an abundance, where the God is walking in the garden, where we sense his presence on a day-to-day basis. It's from that point that the heavens actually merge with the earth, and the dominion of God becomes merged with the dominion of man, so that essentially God rules over everything. And that's what God seeks. That's what he looks forward to. And when I started recognizing this, and we can't even begin to go into the details, but there's so many hints to this very, very special thing. Moshe, in his slides, mentioned a few. There's so many hints as to the very, very, what happens when the heavens and the earth come together. I, as a scientist, always love to think about how we are, even our material world has duality in it. It can be particles or it can be waves. In other words, we were created from the very beginning in such a way that we can actually bridge between these two worlds. And that is the future. And if we realize that future begins in Jerusalem, and it's through Jerusalem that this process of becoming one with God and his kingdom becoming one, that begins in Jerusalem, then we can understand why all the nations are going to come, because all the nations will want to experience that amazing future that God has in store for us. And it's very hard for us to even imagine what life is going to be like when that happens. And we know that it doesn't happen overnight. We know that it's a process. But we all have an opportunity to already now begin to engage in that process by restoring Jerusalem and by cultivating our ability, starting out with the story that I started with, our ability to sense that sanctity, to appreciate that sanctity, to long for that sanctity, then we are already today beginning that process. Sorry, I took more than 2 minutes. Fortunately, nobody put up the clock, but that's my Jerusalem.
No, that's beautiful, Yair. Thanks. David, good to have you.
Thank you. As one from the nations, let me say in summary, I'll begin with the summary and then I'll expound on it. In summary, Jerusalem is two things. It's a footprint for me, and it's a springboard for my faith. A footprint for me, and then a springboard for my faith. I've been to Jerusalem 8 different times, i.e., I've visited Israel 8 different times. The first time was 18 years ago, twice that year in the spring of 2008, and then I think the next was either late summer or the early autumn. But anyway, the second time round, we normally approach Jerusalem from the west. His Google map showed. That's normally the route. But the second time in the autumn of 2008, we approached from the east, the route that brings you from Jericho or the Dead Sea. Now, I was maybe half asleep in the bus or something. But anyway, all of a sudden, everyone in the bus was clapping. Oh, we're driving up, and then suddenly there was a lot of clapping in the bus, and I turned around. I said, "What's going on?" They said, "We have arrived in Jerusalem." It was such a beautiful thing for me to behold, and I've just been reflecting that had I known then, we're doing the what do they call it? I would have been singing a song of Ascent in the Psalms. There are so many songs of Ascent. I shouldn't have been sleeping. The song of Ascent, as I should have sung the song of Ascent as we came up from the eastern route, the Jericho route, the Judean desert route. But it's very memorable that second time. I don't remember much of the other times, but that really stuck in my memory. That everyone in the bus, maybe 40, 50, 60 of us, we crossed from the Jordan, the Transjordan. We crossed is that called the Allenby Bridge? Then came on that route, and then drove up. I'll never forget that. It just stuck in my memory. Thank you. So for me, it's a footprint and a springboard. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dina. And then Lisa. We'll have Dina, then Lisa.
Actually, I'd rather have Lisa first.
Okay, then Lisa, you're first. You've been promoted.
Hello, first of all, I'm glad to be back. And there are 2 thoughts that I had. One is there's a very famous story about 2 brothers. I don't know if you've ever discussed that one, have you, Yair? The one about the 2 brothers who have 2 thriving farms. And one of them has a very large family to feed, and he's managing, but just barely. And the other brother has no family. And both of them come up. They find themselves in the middle of the night going to the other's house because the one who has the big family says, "Oh, my poor brother, he has no one to share his food with, so I'm going to bring him food." And the other brother says, "My brother is really struggling with his large family. I must go and help him and bring him some armfuls of food." And the 2 of them find themselves bumping into one another in the middle of the night on a mountain. And they tell each other what they've been planning to do. And of course, they fall into each other's arms in brotherly love. And it's really a very special moment. And the legend says that this happened on Har Moriah, which is Yerushalayim. I've always related to that story as what should be the basis. For me, that's the basis of Yerushalayim, where we should really concentrate and think about real giving and loving brother to brother. So that was one thought. Do I have another second? Another moment?
Go for it, Lisa.
Okay, because I'm shy about it, but I have a poem that I wrote about Jerusalem. So can I share it?
Please.
Can you copy and put it in the
Yeah,
chat,
I
please?
can. I don't know if I'll be able to read it because it's so small, but I will do that right now. Okay, yes, I can.
Thank you.
I called it Jerusalem Pilgrimage, and it's my impressions on Jerusalem because I find Jerusalem a very complex city and there are a lot of complex emotions and as we're talking about. I'm going to just take it up on the other thing because I think it will be easier for me to read. Yeah. Always I come upon you from the north, my first surprised sight, like finding a gazelle in a bush. The hills of Judah are your sonnets, your valleys are hymns, which do not do you justice. Though poets have tried for centuries, they cannot squeeze your glory into words. I add my ram's horn and timbrel. I remember your beauty, the sanctity of your name, the elegance of tower and citadel. You have been called whore and harlot by your prophets, unworthy wife and shamed bride of God. You are all of these, beloved and golden, hated and scorned, complex and winding as your alleyways, which have seen so much holiness and blood. Your white lanes and blue doors echo with calls to prayer, the chimes of bells, the shiny rubbed-out spaces where we kiss the mezuzahs, tacked at last on our doorposts.
Wow.
Wow, beautiful.
Tremendous.
So Lisa and I are on the same wavelength. And what I needed another minute for was to put my poem up, where Lisa and I are both in the same writing group as well. So not surprising. I also put it on the chat, so you can read it on the chat. Okay, so this is my Jerusalem poem. And thank you, Lisa, for your beautiful poem. Whenever I take the bus to Jerusalem, there's also a turn, Moshe, like you said, and suddenly you see Jerusalem. So do you see it? It's in the chat. It's called On the Road. Yes, good, Jocelyn. I see that.
Yeah.
And then I saw Jerusalem rising still, its myriad stone towers, the huge sabras planted to live along the highway, clutching the earth, terraced vineyards for Jewish grapes to become wine in Brooklyn and Tel Aviv, the red roofs of Moza, tall cranes with cement hearts, steel ribs carving out the hillsides, everything under construction, all its ugly mundanity. And it was beautiful to me. My grandfather, murdered in Slovakia in 1944, his last breath beating in my ear, drumming in my blood, could not have dreamed this Jerusalem.
Wow.
Very beautiful, Dina.
Dina
Dina,
reminds
Listen,
me of
Moshe was asking for sentences and you get poetry twice.
that's the syndrome.
Yeah.
And Dina, this reminded me of Zelda. She has a song about her grandfather, I think, or her father.
Wow. Thank
Look
you.
it
That's
up.
a great thing to be compared to Zelda as an amazing poet.
And because of Daniel's request, Daniel Hanani, he said he'd like to see what earthly Jerusalem looks like for some people who have not visited. So I have found a 7-minute flyover Jerusalem video at the end. I don't want to take away time from the session, but those who want to, we can see a very beautiful flyover Jerusalem before we part.
Thank you very much for putting my request forward. I have never been there, but I read it every day in the Bible. It is a good place. So many amazing things I read about Jerusalem. So Moshe was just showing us, so I'm wondering how Jerusalem is connected to heaven. So maybe when I stand there, then I will figure out. But I also love Jerusalem a lot. And then I was wondering when we will remove that tall thing there, the temple where the temple was. So I'm praying that one day we will have the temple there.
Amen.
We will have the
Indeed.
temple. That is my prayer. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. David.
This is just a personal anecdote, but before I made my pilgrimage to Jerusalem, which was primarily to court Christine, because she was already going, so I hopped on the trip. But I was in
Trying to get in, Rick.
I was in Psalm 102 and feeling very doubtful about my relationship with God. And in it, the psalmist points to a moment when he says that your servants take pleasure in her stones and feel pity for her dust. And I thought, boy, that is an unattainable thought. But when we got there and we were on the bus from our overnights in Tiberias down to Jerusalem, I'm looking up, I don't know the highway name there, but we were along a ridge and there are all these boulders. And I suddenly just yelled out, man, this place has the coolest stones. And it was exactly Psalm 102. And then we were in the part of the Jewish quarter where Moshe Safdie was just building, this is 78, just building the new parts in the old city. And we were over by some mikveh, but I looked across and I go, man, these are the neatest rocks. And it was just great for me because there was a connection between myself and the land. Christine came a few days later. But that's just, again, it doesn't point to anything except my own experience. And Christine has an addendum.
Okay, so I get another 2 minutes. So our personal story is that we've only been to Israel once and had our first kiss in Jerusalem. And ever since then, we've been chomping at the bit to get back and waiting for the wars to end and Gaza to end and Hamas to end and all this stuff. So
And they have the money.
that's true. So after 4 sons, so we're just chomping at the bit to get back to Israel and Jerusalem. I love Jerusalem so much that I will turn on the Kotel cam and just watch it by the hour. And I'll watch when the different feasts are and everybody's crowded into the Kotel. And then I just watch it and watch it.
So we better get back there.
We need to get back there. So, yeah.
Oh, I've never heard that story. That's precious. First kiss, and now chomping at your bit. Okay.
Yeah, it was just for the record. It was at the Diplomat Hotel, which is now the
Embassy.
The U.S. Embassy.
Ah, interesting. Nice.
I just like to share that having taken many groups there over the years, never will I ever take a group to the wall, especially people who've never been to Israel, without, when taking them to the Kotel, reading to them 2 Chronicles 6:32 about Solomon's past prayer over Jerusalem. It says, moreover, concerning a foreigner who is not of your people Israel, but has come from a far country for the sake of your great name and your mighty hand and your outstretched arm, when they come and pray in this temple, then hear from heaven your dwelling place and do according to all for which the foreigner calls to you, that all the peoples of the earth may know your name and fear you as do your people Israel, and that they may know that this temple which I have built is called by your name. And I tell people, take the prayer you've been praying for 30, 40 years, you've been longing for a child, those that have the great, and go before God and ask for him to answer Solomon's prayer. And you'll find that, and I have found, I've had some of those kids put in my arms after, not the same day, usually a year later. But the point is that there is this celestial, spiritual, even the very first time I went to Israel, and I was stupid, okay, 1995, January. And the crazy thought I had a day before, and you have to know I had just gone through a bankruptcy, I had lost everything. My wife couldn't come to Israel with me. I was going on a pastor's familiarization tour, and I had $100 bill. And that $100 bill was for my souvenirs. We finally got to Jerusalem, and the Lord had told me a day earlier, I want you to stick that $100 bill in a wall. At that time, sticking a prayer in the wall made no sense to me, let alone a $100 US bill. But in faith, and I fought, I says, could I give it to this beggar over here or this? But in the craziness of the moment, I took that $100 bill and I put it in my business card. I stuck it in the wall, and I more or less just prayed and says, God, let me help bring Jewish people home. And did what they told me, walked backwards. Again, I was just so naive. But I'm still doing that over 30 years later, bringing Jewish people home to live in the land. And that was my prayer. So that's my two past stories.
Beautiful. Ruth, thanks so much for that, Dean. Ruth.
Hi.
Hi there.
I have a bit of a roundabout story about Jerusalem. Right now, I'm sitting in a boat that's going along the Danube Canal towards the European Great Divide, from which we will go downstream to Hungary. And today we were in Bamberg, and we went to see this big Catholic cathedral. And on the doorway of the cathedral was ecclesia and synagoga. And I have never before seen that in real life. So just for those who may not know, ecclesia represents the church, and it's represented by a woman who is carrying a scepter and strong and tall and eyes open. And synagogue is represented by a woman who's broken and humbled. Her staff is broken. Her eyes are blindfolded. And it was essentially a humiliation of Jerusalem. And I just want to thank God today that I had a chance to explain that to a couple people. And I said that Jerusalem is no longer humiliated, but it's going to become the light of the nations.
Wow. Thanks so much. Wow. Enjoy your trip. Wow. That sounds terrific.
Yeah.
I see Dina writes that we had our first day in Jerusalem. That is true. Yes. Lasted for more than 12 hours.
Yeah,
Jane.
and I like to say, Yair, you're lucky that I met the Jerusalem Yair and on Shabbat.
Jane, Catherine, please.
Thank you so much, Jerusalem. Wow, for us here, really.
Can you improve? We can barely hear
me?
you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Thank you. I was saying that for us here in my country, at least the people that I interact with, there is such a passion for Jerusalem. And I had an opportunity to go to Israel in 2007, together with the person who was our Archbishop and his wife and a team from the church. And just like Dave said earlier, one of the stunning things for me was the stone, that white stone that one sees on the buildings everywhere, and the whole awe of Jerusalem. I was so excited. And I think that year, it was possible to go almost everywhere. I didn't experience any restrictions. I don't remember that there were restrictions to go anywhere. But when we were taken up to the Temple Mount, when we were taken to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, I walked away from the group. And I actually got to the Al-Aqsa Mosque itself, and then the soldiers came. They surrounded me. I didn't know that I'm not supposed to go that far. And they surrounded me. And of course, our team leader, the one who was leading us, he came forward and he rescued me, but I was really in trouble. because I was heading towards the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But I also got excited being an intercessor that I got to set my feet there. And now I could really pray and really pray the kind of prayers that I desired to pray about that place. And then we were given Isaiah 54 when we were preparing to go. And the prophetic lady was actually from the US. And she gave this prophecy as we were preparing to go. Isaiah 54 from 11, she said, afflicted city lashed by storms and not comforted, I will rebuild you with the stones of turquoise, your foundations with the lapis lazuli. I don't even know what those are. I will make your battlements of rubies, your gates sparkling jewels, and all your walls of precious stones. All your children will be taught by the Lord, and great will be their peace. In righteousness, you will be established, and tyranny will be far from you. You will have nothing to fear. Terror will be far removed from you. It will not come near you. And so when I was there, I got a chance to, I actually did have a paper with that scripture. And for me, I just tried my best to drop it in the place. And I felt good in my own spirit, in my mind. I felt like I had done my part. So Jerusalem, when it comes to praying for Jerusalem, there is a lot of weeping that happens in my heart because I feel such a connection. And my brother-in-law is in Jerusalem. So I feel such a connection to Jerusalem. Thank you.
Wonderful. Christiane.
Yeah, I will try to be short. Their time is running out. I went to Israel, two things. I went to Israel the first time in the mid-2000 on a small tour. And what really struck me is when I got there, all I could do was cry. We landed in Tel Aviv, and they had hotel room there for us, and I couldn't sleep, so I walked out of the hotel early morning and went walk about, and all I remember is that I had tears in my eyes. My heart was beating very fast. That was, and we did the tour. But the second time I went with a girlfriend of mine, we went to a Watchman conference in 2016. I was just looking at what year it was, and we rented a condo in Jerusalem near the Jaffa Gate. That was such an experience. We walked all over the old city. We went to the market, and one afternoon, the conference was at the arena conference, and we walked from the Jaffa Gate all the way to the arena. It took us, I think, at least 3 hours to walk there. It was like, to me, it was like I was walking and like walking in the old ways, walking with the people from before. And it really touched my heart. All I want to do is go back to Israel every time I think about it. My heart starts beating faster. I think we have a connection. We all do have a connection to Jerusalem. We have a connection to Israel. And often I'm thinking, I must have been somewhere, along the line, I must have had an ancestor that was Jewish, because I really, from the beginning, I feel my heart connection there. So thank you.
That was so beautiful. My experience is that when we cry, it's often an indication that our soul has been stirred by whatever you experienced. So I think that was a very spiritual experience. Wonderful. So we're down to perhaps our last comments. Eve, can you share something brief?
Eve being brief.
Yeah, sure. I was journeying, so I was listening to all the exciting things, and I couldn't do anything. Couldn't do anything. But isn't it amazing for our Jewish friends? Did you know that there is so much connection from people far and wide to Israel and particularly to Jerusalem. It is amazing. So my story is that my father visited under the same archbishop that James speaks of. And then I was in a particular community. It's called Towards Jerusalem Council 2, the second reconciliation council. That is a work in progress. And the vision began with a gentleman called Marty, a very wonderful Jewish man now. And guess what? I bought a ticket and paid my fare and essentially was ready to attend this conference on, was it the 8th of October, 2024? And I walked off to the Catholic Church to have a prayer. And when I stepped out, it was all over the news that this thing had happened in Israel. And what happened in 2024. And of course, I lost that ticket. I couldn't redeem it. But it riveted our attention in a different way now for Israel. And so we have been continually trying to make this journey. So I don't know, I think this year we're going to try again to make the journey again I think it's in October. Just a few of us, I think Jane and myself are the two that are being picked from Uganda. But without also knowing why, there is this attraction and being drawn to this place. And for me, it's just a word that came from that I need you to know who my people are. In nature, I came physically and I identify ethnically with Israel. And do you mind coming to know who they are? And that began this whole long journey that now makes me a part of Enoam. So I'm so glad for this. And let me end with this song. Jerusalem, ring for the night is on in the highest. Hosanna forevermore. Amen.
Thank you. Yofi.
Poetry and songs, Moshe.
Yes, this is really, Moshe, what you've done to us.
Wait,
Singing
I didn't finish. I want to show you what we all said together. So let's go. I'm sharing for a minute.
Wonderful.
And with that, we'll conclude, right?
I have this.
Pierre's got some video.
I've got a video to show.
Oh, okay. So after this, the video. I'll do it very short. So here we are, and we're hiding, and we see from the studio what I put inside on the sources on the left are a short clipping of things that we all said during this session. And this is the infographic showing Jerusalem, where Yerushalayim, where earth meets heaven, about the physical transformation, the rising city, the sacred connection, spiritual and historical, in the landscape of rebirth. Steel, let's enlarge it, steel ribs and cranes carving into hillsides transform the city's rugged ancient terrain and preparing for the multitudes. Thus, massive road construction is underway to accommodate the growing numbers of visitors and residents, and the beautiful mundanity. The author finds beauty. We are all the author, finds beauty in the cement hearts of construction that signal Jerusalem's growth, and an ancestral dream realized. Modern Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, is a reality that the author's grandfather in 1944 Slovakia could not imagine. And talking about the spiritual antenna, experiencing the city's holiness requires being internally prepared to see angels. And the meeting place, Yerushalayim, is described as the footprint and springboard where heaven and earth intersect. And last is this short presentation made from all of us, the living stones of Yerushalayim, finding the meeting place, shopping for memories, the initial encounter, a visit defined by history, tourism, and seeking keepsakes, discovering the return, the shift of Aliyah, experiencing the raw reality of the city, Yair, as the active living place of Hashem's return and the family of Hashem, the ultimate hope to return, not just to visit, but to live as a permanent part of this spiritual family and the earthly city and the heavenly city, with cement hearts and steel ribs, massive construction, ugly mundanity, physical stones and dust, but Hashem's return and expectation of angels and brotherly embrace, Lisa, and spiritual resonance. And the meeting place, Yerushalayim, exists exactly where these two dimensions collide or connect, where construction cranes and ancient promises occupy the exact same airspace. And we have the springboard and the footprint, this above and this on the bottom, the launching point for spiritual ascent and elevation, and the connection to the land, the grounding history, the physical reality, and approaching from the east and approaching from the west, and everybody can clap now. Clapping when seeing Yerushalayim. Limestone and light. I'll send this so everybody can see, and I am stopping here. This will be sent on the fellowship.
Wow, that was amazing.
And the unmarried brother thinking only of what is good for his sibling, and the embrace in the night, and at the end, the first kiss in Yerushalayim. Okay.
How you summarized so many things, wonderful things that were said. So I am now putting in a share. We'll watch this video and we will look forward to the next.
From this vantage point, high in the sky, the world seems to slow down. The morning light paints the ancient.
We don't see anything, here.
It is a spectacle of profound tranquility.
Okay, now you do?
Yes. Like yes. First golden ray, sun casts its first as the sun casts its first golden rays across the Judean hills. Below us, a city awakens. This is Jerusalem. From this vantage point, high in the sky, the world seems to slow down. The morning light paints the ancient stones in hues of honey.
If there are captions, put them on.
It is a spectacle of profound tranquility. The landscape unfurls like a living map. We see the gentle curves of the hills that cradle the city. Small clusters of olive trees, their leaves shimmering silver in the light, dot the slopes. It is a time. Now, our gaze is drawn to the heart of Jerusalem. It is the old city. Enclosed by magnificent high walls, it appears almost like a fortress from another time. From the air, the old city is a dense and intricate maze. Its rooftops are a patchwork of different shapes and textures. The old city is not one, but 4 distinct quarters. The Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and Armenian quarters each have their own unique character. The golden dome of a mosque shines brightly next to the solemn bell tower of a church. Life within these walls continues as it has for generations. This small patch of land is considered sacred by 3 of the world's major religions. As we drift closer, one structure dominates the skyline of the old city. It is the Dome of the Rock. Its magnificent golden dome acts like a beacon, capturing the sunlight and reflecting it from miles around. From our aerial view, we can appreciate the perfect symmetry of its octagonal design. The vibrant blue tiles that adorn its exterior walls are a stunning contrast to the golden dome, creating a vision of celestial elegance. It sits upon a large raised platform known as the Temple Mount, or Haram al-Sharif. From above, we can see small figures of people walking across the esplanade, their movements unhurried. Our journey takes us lower, towards the western retaining wall of the Temple Mount. This is the western wall, or the Kotel. Below it, a large plaza teems with people. It is the most sacred site in Judaism. People stand before the wall, many swaying gently in prayer. From our high perch, the scene is one of profound and silent devotion. The cracks between the massive stones are filled with thousands of tiny, folded pieces of paper. These are notes, prayers, and wishes left by visitors. The stones themselves are immense. They have withstood earthquakes, wars, and the relentless passage of time. It is a sanctuary of whispers, where the prayers of ages seem to echo in the silent air. Our flight path now leads us over the Christian quarter, towards a complex and sprawling building with 2 distinct domes. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It appears as a collection of structures from different eras, built one on top of the other. For Christians around the world, this is the most sacred place on earth. The church is shared by several different Christian denominations, including the Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Armenian Apostolic churches. The narrow streets of the Christian quarter all seem to converge on the church's courtyard. They come from every nation on earth, all drawn to this one location. It is deeply embedded in the heart of the old city, surrounded by the vibrant life of its markets and homes. The church is a beacon, drawing millions with its promise of connection to the central events of their faith. We now drift east, across the Kidron Valley, towards the gentle slope of a prominent hill. This is the Mount of Olives. It is named for the olive groves that once covered its slopes. Some of these ancient gnarled trees still stand today. For millennia, this mount has served as a silent watchtower, offering one of the most iconic and breathtaking views of the old city. The slopes of the Mount of Olives are home to several important Christian churches. We can see the distinctive teardrop-shaped domes of the Church of Dominus Flevit. The Mount of Olives is also the site of the world's oldest and largest Jewish cemetery. From the air, we can see the hillside covered in a dense carpet of pale rectangular tombstones. It is a place of endings and beginnings, of sorrow and hope. The Mount of Olives is a landscape imbued with prophecy, memory, and profound spiritual meaning. Our journey now takes us west, away from the ancient heart of the city. The landscape changes dramatically. This is West Jerusalem, the new city. The narrow, winding alleyways are replaced by wide, tree-lined boulevards. This is the seat of Israel's government, and we can spot the distinctive modernist architecture of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. The new city is a tapestry of diverse neighborhoods, each with its own character. We fly over the leafy streets of Rehavia and see the bustling Mahane Yehuda market. The building regulations in Jerusalem mandate that most structures be faced with Jerusalem stone. Whether a building is 2,000 years old or 2 years old, it shares the same golden-white hue. From our vantage point, the blend of ancient and modern is seamless. The old city is its historic soul, and the new city is its vibrant, beating heart. Jerusalem is not just a city of stones and holy sites. It is a city of people. We see playgrounds filled with children, their bright clothing like scattered wildflowers. It is a city that is home to a rich diversity of people, cultures, and traditions. People of different backgrounds with different beliefs and different ways of life all call this city home. From our serene position in the sky, what we see is a beautiful mosaic of human existence. We see the shared patterns of daily life that connect all people. From above, the city appears as a unified whole, a single human habitat where different communities have found a way to coexist. The city's population is a microcosm of the world itself. To fly over Jerusalem is to witness a grand experiment in coexistence. It is a city that challenges us to look beyond our differences and to recognize our shared humanity. From this peaceful, aerial perspective, that challenge seems beautifully, breathtakingly real. Our journey through the skies is now drawing to a close. As we begin our slow descent, the city rises up to meet us. The sounds of the city, once a distant hum, now begin to reach us. The call to prayer, the peal of church bells, the chatter of voices in a busy market. The image of Jerusalem from above will remain with us. We will remember the golden light of sunrise on ancient stone, the perfect geometry of the dome of the rock. Most of all, we will remember the feeling of tranquility, of looking down upon a place of immense historical and spiritual weight, and seeing only beauty and harmony. From the air, it tells one overarching story, a story of endurance. It is a story of faith that has moved mountains and built magnificent monuments. The capital of Israel, seen from above, is a powerful symbol of the beauty that can be found when we rise above our differences. The lingering image is one of peace, a golden city resting serenely in the hills, forever watching, forever waiting, forever inspiring.